Who will survive?
Chapter 1: Life in the Serene Pond. Deep in the heart of a lush green forest, hidden away from human eyes, lay a vast and magnificent pond. The water was crystal clear, reflecting the blue sky above like a polished mirror. Tall reeds swayed in the gentle breeze, and dragonflies danced over the water's surface. The pond was full of life, home to countless fish of all sizes and colors. For generations, the fish had lived peacefully. Food was abundant, and there were no threats, at least, none that they had faced in recent years. Among them were three distinct groups. The wise fish, observant, intelligent, and always prepared for change. They believed that survival depended on quick decisions and action. The hesitant fish, cautious and thoughtful, but often too slow to act. They saw risks, but struggled to take immediate steps. The careless fish, playful and overconfident, they ignored all warnings. They believed that life would always remain the same and refused to worry about the future. For years, the pond had been a paradise. But the peace was about to be shattered. Chapter 2: The Fisherman's Discovery. One evening, just as the sun began to set, three fishermen arrived at the edge of the pond. Their footsteps rustled the dry leaves as they approached the water. They stood still, watching the countless fish swimming freely. One of them bent down, dipping his hand into the cool water. "This pond is full of fish," he said with excitement. The second fisherman nodded. "If we set our nets early in the morning, we'll catch a huge number of them." "We should bring extra baskets," the third one suggested. "This will be our best catch in months." They discussed their plans openly, unaware that several fish hiding near the surface were listening. The fish froze in place, their tiny hearts pounding. As soon as the fishermen left, they rushed back to warn the others. Chapter 3: The Wise Fish Take Action. The news spread quickly through the pond. The wise fish wasted no time. They called an urgent gathering. "The fishermen are coming tomorrow," an elder fish announced. "We must leave the pond before sunrise." Some of the younger fish looked worried. "Where can we go?" one asked. "There's a narrow canal at the eastern end," the elder fish replied. "It's difficult to swim through, but it leads to another pond. We must act quickly, before it's too late." The wise fish didn't waste another second. One by one, they began their journey toward the canal, disappearing into the darkness. Chapter 4: The Hesitant Fish Debate. Meanwhile, the hesitant fish gathered in another part of the pond. They were worried but unsure of what to do. "I think we should leave," one fish said, glancing around nervously. "But what if the fishermen don't come?" another argued. "They might change their minds." "We have the whole night to decide," a third fish added. "Let's wait a little longer and see what happens." Instead of making a decision, they kept discussing, going in circles. Hours passed, and still, they remained in the pond. Chapter 5: The Careless Fish Mock. Meanwhile, the careless fish laughed at those who were worried. "These fishermen have come before," one fish said. "They say they'll come, but they never do." "Even if they come, we can hide in the deeper part of the pond," said another. "Running away is foolish," a third fish declared. They ignored the warning and continued playing, completely unaware of what was coming. Chapter 6: The Night of Decisions. The night was unusually quiet. The moon cast a silver glow over the pond, reflecting the worried faces of the hesitant fish and the carefree smiles of the careless ones. A cool breeze rippled the water surface, whispering a warning only the wise fish had heeded. The hesitant fish gathered near the center of the pond, still uncertain about their next move. "We should leave," one of them insisted. The wise fish already escaped. They wouldn't have left unless they were sure of the danger. Another fish hesitated. "But what if the fishermen don't come? What if we struggle to survive in the new pond? Maybe we should wait and see." "Wait for what?" a frustrated fish snapped. "Until the nets are around us?" Their arguments continued deep into the night. Some started swimming toward the escape route, but others convinced themselves they had more time. Meanwhile, in another corner of the pond, the careless fish were having a feast. They laughed, played, and splashed around, ignoring the warnings. "The fishermen will never catch us," one boasted. "We are fast swimmers. If they come, we'll just dive deep." Besides, another added, "Why leave this beautiful pond for a place we don't even know? We'll be fine." The water shimmered under the moon, hiding the silent approach of morning and danger. Chapter 7: The First Light of Danger. As the first rays of dawn stretched across the sky, the pond remained peaceful. The hesitant fish, exhausted from debating all night, finally decided they would leave, but not yet. "We'll leave just before sunrise," one of them said. "We still have a little time." But their timing was horribly wrong. Suddenly, there was a disturbance. Footsteps. Voices. The sound of baskets being placed on the ground. Then, splash! A giant fishing net crashed into the water, sending shockwaves through the pond. For a second, everything stood still. Then, chaos. The hesitant fish shrieked in panic. The careless fish, who had been laughing just minutes ago, were now screaming in terror. "The fishermen are here. The net is closing in. Swim! Swim!" The water, once calm, turned into a furious whirlpool of struggling bodies. Chapter 8: The Hesitant Fish's Desperate Escape. The hesitant fish, realizing their mistake, darted toward the canal. But fear had taken over their minds. Some swam wildly in circles, unsure of where to go. Others hesitated too long and found themselves caught in the edge of the net. "Help me," one cried, struggling as the net tightened. Another fish barely escaped, squeezing through a small gap before the net fully closed. Only a few of them made it to the canal. As they swam through the narrow passage, guilt and fear weighed on them. "We should have left earlier," one muttered. "We barely made it," another said, trembling. They were the lucky ones. Many of their companions were not so fortunate. Chapter 9: The Careless Fish's Doom. The careless fish, who had mocked the warnings, now faced their worst nightmare. "We can escape," one of them shouted, trying to dive deep. But the net stretched all the way to the bottom. Another tried to jump over the net, but the fisherman quickly lifted it higher. "No. This can't be happening." One by one, they were dragged toward the surface, their fates sealed. Their laughter from the night before was now replaced by cries of regret. Chapter 10: The Fisherman's Triumph. The fishermen, seeing their nets filled with fish, grinned with satisfaction. "This is the best catch we've had in years," one of them said, pulling in the heavy net. "They never saw it coming," another chuckled. "They were swimming freely just yesterday." The fish thrashed and flipped in the nets, their eyes wide with terror. But there was no escape now. The fishermen carried their baskets to the shore, their work complete. The pond, once full of life, had lost so many of its inhabitants in a single morning. Chapter 11, The Empty Pond. By midday, silence swallowed the pond. The water, once alive with movement, now felt abandoned. The hesitant fish who had barely escaped returned briefly, peeking through the canal. Their hearts sank as they saw what had happened. "This was our home," one whispered. Now, it was nearly empty. Chapter 12, The Wise Fish's Reflection. Meanwhile, in the new pond, the wise fish swam peacefully. They had found safety before disaster struck. "We made the right choice," one of them said. A younger fish, still shaken, asked, "Do you think the others made it?" The elder fish sighed. "Some did. But many did not." A heavy silence fell over them. One of the younger fish finally spoke. "Why didn't the others listen?" The elder fish looked at the rippling water. "Because not everyone understands danger until it's too late." Chapter 13, The Comparison to Life. This story isn't just about fish, it reflects the nature of people as well. Some people, like the wise fish, see danger ahead and take action before it's too late. Some, like the hesitant fish, recognize the danger but delay their decisions. Sometimes they escape, but often, they suffer because of their hesitation. Some, like the careless fish, ignore all warnings, believing life will always stay the same until disaster strikes.